Στο πάνελ με τίτλο Hotel Experience Color Green συμμετέχουν ακόμα οι κύριοι Ιωάννης Ακιώτης και Ιωάννης Παπάς. Το πάνελ θα γίνει στα αγγλικά και θα προηγηθεί σύμφωνα με τη ροή του κυρίου Μεσίνα ένα σύντομο βίντεο του Αμερικάνου αρχιτέκτονα Bruce Becker. Ένα από τα πιο πρόσφατα έργα του είναι η ανακαίνιση ενός εικονικού κτηρίου που σχεδίασε ο Μαρσέλ Μπρόιερ το 1967 με στόχο τη μετατροπή του στο ξενοδοχείο Μαρσέλ της αλυσίδας Hilton στο New Haven στη ΣΥΠΑ. Πρόκειται για το πρώτο ανθρακικά ουδέτερο ξενοδοχείο στην Αμερική. Ο Bruce Becker πρόκειται να συμμετέχει στην Eco Week του 2025, επερχόμενη διοργάνωση του Dr. Ηλία Μεσίνα στην Αίγινα αυτό το καλοκαίρι. Ξεκινάμε με το βίντεο.
In the fight against climate change, one of the biggest contributors is the construction industry. According to a United Nations study, it accounts for a staggering 37% of global emissions. In New Haven, Connecticut, one developer has a blueprint for limiting the carbon footprint of his buildings, including a first of its kind in the hospitality industry. Not many hotel developers would start the tour on the roof.
Well, this is where it begins, because this is how we're making power with just the sun.
You might call architect Bruce Redmond Becker a proud papa. Eager to shine light on his new baby, the Hotel Marcel, and the power behind it.
Well, you install them, and they make power for 25 years or more.
There are more than 1,000 solar panels covering the roof and parking canopies below.
It defines the future of sustainable hospitality.
The building was designed by one of Becker's heroes, Marcel Breuer, the architect behind the UNESCO headquarters in Paris and the Whitney Museum in New York. From 1970 to 1999, it served as headquarters for a rubber company and later a tire manufacturer, but then sat vacant for 2 decades. In 2020, Becker bought it for just over $1 million.
It was twice voted the ugliest building in Connecticut, but at the same time, folks that are passionate about brutalist architecture saw it as this iconic building. People were coming from Europe to look at it because it really is a very cool building. It's like a piece of modern art that sort of is suspended in the sky. And so I passed by it and thought there has to be a solution to remake this building in a way that honors its architectural legacy, but also sort of brings it into the future.
Recycling existing structures has been on his punch list for more than a decade. In Hartford and New York, Becker transformed historic buildings into apartment complexes. Compared to new construction, conversions cut carbon emissions by 50 to 70%.
You know, architects love to play with their houses, right?
His home in Westport, Connecticut was his testing ground.
I got rid of my gas hot water heater and I put in a air source heat pump hot water heater, and I even put in about 64 solar panels.
At a cost of about $60,000, but thanks to a 30% tax credit, he says it paid for itself in 4 years.
And then Hotel Marcel came out of this.
It took more than 2 years and $30 million, but Hotel Marcel opened its doors in 2022. It's now part of Hilton's Tapestry collection.
Not many hotels open to the interstate.
No. No, that's a building we inherited.
Ben Webster is general manager.
We have found that we are now attracting a lot of organizations and conferences because of our sustainability initiatives, where they can host these kind of zero waste, zero emission meetings and events.
Under the Energy Department's new criteria, a zero emissions building must be energy efficient, free of on-site emissions from energy use, and powered solely by clean energy. The goal is to reduce greenhouse gases by 65% in the next decade and 90% by the year 2050. The Marcel is the only hotel in the U.S. to earn the Energy Department's Platinum rating.
That's not gas?
No, ma'am. Completely electric powered.
Chef Megan Gill's kitchen is fully sustainable.
I think it's really our focus on our day-to-day efforts and how we move differently throughout the space.
Which includes composting and repurposing food waste.
And then other things like watching our water usage, maintaining a radius of 250 miles from where we buy food from to eliminate our carbon footprint.
On the outside, triple glazed windows reduce noise and improve insulation.
This is our latest innovation.
And in the laundry room,
The laundry energy is the biggest single component of energy use and typically carbon footprint for most hotels.
a first of its kind innovation in the U.S.
This is a heat pump hot water heater, which makes cold air. It actually pulls the heat out of the air and puts it in the hot water. So we basically get free hot water, and we also cool the room at the same time.
But the game changer fueling it all,
And this is sort of the hub of energy for the whole hotel.
the Hotel Marcel's microgrid,
It's a really smart way to power a building.
with inverters that switch between solar and battery power on demand.
On a summer day in the middle of the day, we actually export power to the grid from our solar panels. We also have batteries that we can pull power from, and that allows us to operate off-grid and also sell power back to the utility when there's a peak demand for the system.
On overcast days like this one, the hotel also draws on renewable green energy from the public utility.
The orange is actually the load of the buildings.
Becker tracks that usage from his phone,
So right now we're getting a combination of power from the utility, from the solar.
hoping to negotiate more space for solar in the parking lot, which he says would wean the hotel from that dependence.
This is a very easily replicable approach to making hotels and commercial buildings that don't contribute to the climate change problem that we have.
Becker believes the Hotel Marcel can be a model, moving the hospitality industry into a greener future.
Sounds like we have to build on what we already have.
Absolutely. I mean, it's history is a big part of what we have to think about going forward, because that's really defines our identity. You know, if we don't think about where we came from and what that means, you know, we're sort of lost. And I think our challenge is to build on the past, but in ways that make for a brighter future.
You know, hospitality accounts for about 1% of global carbon emissions, and he says this could really put a dent in, the greenhouse gas impact if just the hospitality industry jumps into this wholeheartedly.
Is it money and the idea that people want to build their own thing and they don't want to sit on an existing footprint?
Probably a combination of both, but just sort of recapturing the notion of taking what's old and making it new again.
Right.
Instead of just building something
Yeah.
completely new, all right?
So, Mr. Papas, when we aim for real fundamental transformation and not greenwashing, from your experience, how can a hotel transform from the practice of today to the sustainable practice of tomorrow?
Yes, good morning to everyone. Thank you for the invitation. This was a very interesting example. However, I would like to say that this is only 1/4 or 1/5 of sustainability. We have to talk more about good practices, and this is the idea, because if someone would like to see this kind of news in, let's say, kind of very well-known channel, they say this is sustainability. This is about environment only. Don't forget about culture, don't forget about management in the whole thing, don't forget about social things, don't forget about local products and everything that's connected with Candle to Candle. So this is a big issue. I think in the next years, what we call zero emissions or sustainable or whatever is that, and this was actually the first discussion that we have with Elias about this panel, was to define really what is there, what is really a good definition, and everything we have seen in this hotel is more or less, at least in Europe, legislation. So about energy efficiency, about putting some renewables, about making more sustainable, about eliminating any kind of claims that are not justified. This is going to be crucial, and because we're talking most of you are coming from architects and other offices, this should be calculated, justified by, we're going to discuss about that, by third-party evaluation. So in order to move to more practical things, because we need to discuss about practicalities, we need to see what exactly is, let's say, CO2 emissions, greenhouse gases, what is the contribution, what we call it Scope 3, which is about suppliers will have to go back to basics, and we have to discuss about, let's say, features like consumer protection against any kind of greenwashing. A lot of legislation is coming. I'm going to have, I think, an opportunity to discuss about that. And we think that we need to learn more about that. We need to open our mind. The technology is there. It's not about technology. Nothing is impossible right now, I think. And we're going to see what's going to happen in the next years to come.
Let's move to the world of advertising and communication, obviously, with you, Mr. Sakiotis. Be a hero, fly CO2 zero, and this is a slogan by KLM. Will we see these kind of advertisements more in the future? How does the picture change in Europe, and how do we deal with greenwashing here in Greece within the next 2 years?
Thank you, Ms. McCree, for this question. Thank you, the organizers, for the invitation. Well, the European Commission, during the period we are now, it's now about to expire, introduced and started the implementation of a big new policy platform, the European Green Deal. Within this big policy umbrella, we have seen a lot of problems and tried to solve them out. One of these, the important problems about around greenwashing was the landscape. The landscape was have been mapped by DG Environment, and we have seen that, for example, 50% of the claims of the marketing, the green marketing claims, are not justified or they are not exist at all. And we have seen also that there are at least 230 organizations that certify green claims and 100 more certifying sustainable energy claims. So the market is not possible to solve out this mess, well, and we tried to regulate. So we introduced a directive recently. So the first step was okay within the Parliament, from the committees of Internal Market and Environment, and then the Council recently, around August, also agreed. So we are at the finalization of this directive, which is very important, and it is now up to the Parliament, the European Parliament, of course, to vote for this, and then we are going to have the implementation from mid-2025. So according to this, the situation will be very different. Anyone who is going to make a green claim, they have to establish, to be verified by certain verifiers that will be accredited by the European Commission. So that means that if I'm going to have an advertisement of any other form of marketing about something green I am offering, I have to go to these verifiers and 30 days in advance and provide all the information needed to get the certification and go for this. And then whoever is going to break the rule, the fines will be huge. We're talking about 4% of the annual turnover of the entities that do the wrong way, let's say. So we can be a bit optimistic about greenwashing. Of course, there is greenwashing also in the hospitality area, but it's not the sole sector with this problem. And hopefully, also the hospitality sector is going to be regulated with this directive, we believe.
So let's move from slogans to practice. Dr. Braungart, how can we change the linear model of construction and operation that produce a lot of waste here in Greece? And how can hotels in Greece get on board the circular economy model?
So, first of all, may I ask you, who liked the shape of this hotel which we saw? I personally thought it's terrible. Yeah, it looks like an Albert Speer building. Yeah, so if this is the shape of a hotel, oh God. But that's subjective. I, from my side, want to say, hey, the idea of cradle to cradle is a different one. It's not about zero waste, because then you still think about waste. Yeah? So if I tell you, don't think about a pink elephant Or don't think about Donald Trump naked, yeah, which is pretty much the same. Yeah, so then you think about the pink elephant. So I'm talking about everything being nutrition, being good for the planet, not less bad. Yeah, and this hotel definitely has a lot of interesting aspects. But why do they buy solar panels? Nobody needs a solar panel. When you buy a solar panel, you have to you become owner of toxic waste. We do high-tech waste management for Chinese hazardous waste. If you only buy the service, and not talking about contracting, then you can make a difference. You saw the washing machines. Why do you buy a washing machine when nobody needs a washing machine? You only need the service of using it. We can make a facade which actively cleans the air. We can grow algae on a facade, for example, which makes on 1 hectare of facade, you can grow as much protein as you can grow on 60 hectares of corn. I'm quite glad about what the European Union is doing, and as you know, Cradle to Cradle is 80% of the base of the Green Deal, because there was a foundation, Ellen MacArthur, which actually made it understandable what Cradle to Cradle is. Sometimes it's more noodle to noodle or knödel to knödel. Okay, we have quality problems still, but why don't we look to make the hotel really as an innovation place? Not about green, not about sustainable, which tells you it's better you're not here. Why do we want to be zero emission? We are breathing. Yeah, we are breathing, we are off-gassing 168 kilograms of carbon dioxide just when we sleep. Yeah. When we are awake and we do sports, it's more than 1 ton of carbon dioxide. You can do something. For example, we have such a perverse agriculture that we spend 10 calories of energy for 1 calorie of food. Yeah? So if you take the elevator, you only need 2 calories. Yeah? So when you take the elevator in a hotel, you can reduce your carbon footprint by 5 times, yeah? Instead of taking the stairs. Yeah? And then you die earlier, you minimize your footprint even more, yeah? Because you're not there anymore. So why don't we see our customers as an opportunity, as change agents, instead of minimizing destruction? Because when people feel that it's better they're not here, they become greedy and angry. So let's see customers as an opportunity. And these hotels can be really making a difference. If you have a carpet which you don't sell anymore, then the manufacturer can use far better materials. And this is where a hotel can say, hey, we want to have 10 years of using this carpet. Then the manufacturer can make the best materials, not the cheapest ones. And the hotel knows this stays 10 years beautiful. Yeah. It's a different business model which allows to make things. And you can see here, this is a video from the Biennale in Venice, where I showed how we can make buildings like trees. And these are all the architectures which have been strangled because with their existing terrible architecture, which we could just see. Is there anybody who really liked the design of this hotel? I think I was shocked to see this as a green hotel. Yeah.
So we lease this carpet as a service and not buy it as a product in order to go to zero instead of minimizing.
No, it's not about zero. Look, our young kids want to be important because nobody wants to be zero. If you say you're zero, yeah, and I can say, oh, why do you need a lipstick? Yeah, if you can minimize this. Yeah. A woman eats about 6.3 kilograms of lipstick during her lifetime. Yeah, we make lipsticks which you actually can eat, yeah, which are designed for that. We don't know exactly how much gets kissed away, actually. So it's not about zero, it's about beneficial. Yeah, for being less bad, we are too many people. Yeah, we need to learn to be good for this planet, because for less bad, 10 billion people are too many. Yeah, so we need to support the other species in a hotel. So it's about a footprint which becomes a wetland. Let's celebrate our footprint, not minimizing to zero. Yeah, then you tell your customer, if you don't come, it's even better. Do you really need to come to me? No, you need to say, hey, look, you are an opportunity for making transformation. And this is where Europe actually can make a difference.
Let's go beneficial then. Mr. Sakiotis, Europe wants the hotel industry to align with the circular economy directives. Here in Greece, what are the financial incentives for the hospitality industry to make this transition possible as quickly as we can?
Well, just to start replying by saying that according to the treaties, tourism is not exactly a field of policy which is about the institutions of the European Union to deal with. It's mainly for the national administrations, the national governments. So there is a reference about tourism, and the scope of the European institutions is about how to make more competitive and more strong the tourism sector, and especially we try to enhance the conditions for the development of the sector. So that means that actually there is not a lot of direct, let's say, funding for what we would like to see according to the EU tourism agenda of 2022, which is green transition, digital transition, things like that. Of course, there is some funding. There are various funding mechanisms, projects like we have, for example, funding from ERDF, which is the European Regional Development Fund, from Horizon, from various sources. There is a comprehensive EU guide for the financing the tourism sector. So by Googling, it's very easy to find with a step-by-step approach. So it's easy for all the entities who are interested to check what is on place, to go through this guide and see if there is any interesting financial, let's say, mechanism, project that could participate. But I would like just to add something which is important here, that according to the new political guidelines of the Commission, which is about to undertake for the new period, our President, Ursula von der Leyen, presented tourism as a more important area to deal with. So this is why we now have a new commission for the moment designated commissioner for transport and tourism. And in his mission letter, there is only one reference about tourism, but this is something happening practically for first time. So the mission is to try to have a more competitive and more resilient tourism. And that means that we need to work better and put more financial tools on the table. But this is something to see within the next couple of years. Let's be a bit optimistic that we will be able to deliver also to the tourism sector the European Green Deal, because as the President said, the new period, 5 years period, is the implementation and delivery of European Green Deal policies. So I think that it's something important.
And let's move one step further into this transition, which needs experts in order to be done, Mr. Papas. From your perspective, how does Green Evolution and GSTC support hotel businesses in Greece to make the green transition?
Yes. I think most of the people that are participating here are trying to see this, let's say, pathway to a more green, let's call it. I'm not sure how this is going to be the termination for the future, or more sustainable, or more something to do with all the, let's say, the very important items that we have seen already in the presentations and the video and many other things. However, the most important thing, I think, it's about awareness and training to the people that are going to design and implement solutions in the next years to come, but also not only for buildings, let's say, that are going to be new and will be delivered, but also for retrofits. Retrofit in Greece, at least, is going to be the most important item on this transition period. And I think that also the universities and experience that can be found also inside Greece. There are so many interesting examples. Maybe we're going to see many of them today about how a sustainable hotel in a specific area, specific subsectors, and specific locations of Greece someone can see. But also, I think it's very important to emphasize that we need some kind of guidance. I think we're going to see in Greece in the next years to come many different schemes, initiatives. We have already many of them, but from the more constitutional approach, let's say, because we're going to see from the hoteliers, we're going to see from the ministry, we're going to see from many different directions. So it's very important for us, I mean, as people that are working in this field, to actually filtering this kind of process and try to take the best from all these different, very important initiatives that we're going to have. It's very important to see also what is happening globally, because we're not going to, let's say, to reinvent the wheel here in Greece. And I think this is a challenge for organizations like GSTC, Global Sustainable Tourism Council, and many others to give this kind of reference experience and good examples around the globe. So I think this is the most important thing. Try to communicate the message, try to see what's happening. It's going to change a lot. We're not going to be able just to say, I'm green enough, or I have put, let's say, a PV on my roof. That's a very interesting approach about sustainability. This is not going to be the same after some months. And the marketing of that is going to change a lot also. So think, see, and learn. This is, I think, the most important message that I would like to share.
We will sure follow up with that. So, cradle-to-cradle hotels in Greece, can that be real, or is that just a dream? Dr. Braungardt, how can your expertise help hotels in cities like Athens and Thessaloniki achieve what you have achieved in Amsterdam with your circular hotels?
Yeah. So the thing is, it's really not about green, not about sustainable. It's about holistic quality and beauty. Yeah, so let's eliminate the idea of waste. We are the only species which is making waste. When we are making waste, the whole planet will become a landfill. Yeah, so let's make things which are good for the other species. Let's take, for example, your seats, which you sit on. The pieces you cut off when you make such a chair are so toxic that they need to be burned as hazardous waste. Yeah? But then sitting next to a beautiful lady and on a sofa, I get nervous and I actually eat my sofa. So it needs to be designed that you can eat it actually. So the things can go back in biological systems. The pieces you cut off can go in gardening and growing. And look, you only need to do one thing. For example, if you would I can show you how high the contamination of conventional eggs are. As you know, in hotels, hospitality, eggs are really important here. And I can show you how problematic how many chemicals you find in eggs for chicken. Yeah? And if you only would say today, we will only use organic eggs in the future, you would make a difference for the customer and for the agriculture, because it would boost the agricultural production immediately to organic. I learned it with Mrs. Schelle Müller. You need to name the pioneers. She is the owner of Motel One, which is the fastest growing hotel company in Europe right now. Yeah. And I told her, look here, you can see how much chemicals you find in eggs. You need to switch into organic. And she just took the telephone and said, from tomorrow, we will only purchase organic eggs. Yeah. And this is excellent, yeah, because it really makes a difference. So if you would say, we are not buying frying pans, we buy the service of using it. We are not buying mattresses, we buy the service of using mattresses. Then the manufacturer can use the best material, not the cheapest one. So you can pick just one thing and make a difference. And when you all do this, you will be the innovation space for Europe, yeah? For the whole tourism industry. You can be the platform to learn how the future looks like. And we need to do this because otherwise we are too slow. Yeah? And we will repair the damage and we will not be able to finance new things anymore. So if you say, our solar panels, we will not buy them anymore, we only buy the service of using them, yeah, then the manufacturer can use far better solar panels. So let's not talk about green, because then it's a little green niche. No, let's talk about holistic quality and beauty. And that's what I want to inspire you to really make a difference. There are people say, when we want to see the future, we go to a hotel, we go to a hospitality place, because we can learn how the future looks like. And all the things in hotels can be services. You don't need light LEDs, you need light performance. So, and it saves you a lot of costs, because Philips can immediately use completely better materials because they're no longer selling it, for example. They only sell the service of using it. So I want you to inspire you, and then we can inspire the tourists from China, from India, from other places to see different and inspire them to do things differently, because then we can make a global change by inspiration, and hotels, hospitality can be the real source for inspiration. And sure, we need to make sure that there's no greenwashing, no whatever, but if you make it transparent what you do, then we make a difference. Yeah.
So, having all the three of you a method, a vision, you have created a method and you provide the tools in order to make sustainability something of holistic quality and beauty. Thank you very much for sharing all these amazing insights and for making sustainability fun, if I may say. Thank you.
Thank you so much.